When an interstellar object enters our solar system, the first thing science demands is humility, and the second is honesty. You cannot claim certainty when the evidence is still mysterious. That is not science, that is public relations. Unfortunately, NASA's recent press briefing on 3I Atlas felt much closer to the latter. This is not about attacking NASA. I respect the agency enormously. But the public deserves transparency, and real scientific progress comes from confronting anomalies, not burying them beneath comforting statements that everything is normal. And 3, Atlas is not normal. It is different in multiple significant ways. These differences should have been highlighted, not dismissed, because they represent opportunities to learn something profound about our cosmic neighborhood. When NASA announced they were releasing the first images of 3I Atlas, anticipation surged across the scientific community and the public alike. They held a press conference, positioned officials in front of cameras, and implied that something important was coming. But when the moment arrived, the content was shockingly underwhelming: blurry images, recycled information, and no meaningful insights. Even more concerning was the absence of any willingness to address the biggest questions. Blurry images can still carry scientific value. Noise can be analyzed, but that requires scientists, not administrators. You need the experts who work directly with this data to explain what's puzzling, what stands out, and what needs further investigation. Instead, NASA repeated the same simplistic narrative. It's a comet, it's natural, it came from another star system, and there's nothing unusual about it. But that narrative is misleading. There are many unusual things, and these mysteries are exactly what the public wants and deserves to hear. Science is not about calming people. Science is driven by curiosity. The core issue is that NASA approached 3I Atlas as an ordinary comet. And here is the problem. When you expect something to be normal, you only search for the things you expect to find. And when you only search for what you expect, you will never discover anything unexpected. You cannot detect technological signatures if you are not even willing to seek them. NASA's approach was self-limiting and prevented deeper inquiry. They avoided discussing the forward-facing plume, the jets pointing perpendicular to the sun, the nickel-iron chemical anomaly, the rotation mismatch, the perfect alignment with the planetary plane, the enormous mass, the non-gravitational acceleration, and the statistical improbability of detecting an object like this so early. These are real scientific puzzles, yet NASA did not address any of them. Instead, they downplayed the mystery. And that is not how science advances. One of the most striking ignored details was hidden inside the blurry MRO image. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter captured the best photo we currently have of 3I Atlas. It was fuzzy, degraded by jitter, but even with that, something extremely unusual was visible. The bright glow, the fuzzy halo surrounding the object, was not pointing away from the sun as comet behavior predicts. It was pointing forward ahead of 3I Atlas in the direction of its motion. This is incredibly strange. Normally, sunlight hits pockets of ice, gas escapes outward, and solar radiation pressure pushes the material away from the Sunday. But with 3I Atlas, the material appears to be escaping in the opposite direction, forward. This goes against typical comet physics. This alone should have been a headline. Instead, NASA did not mention it, not even once. And this was the first image where the direction of motion was no longer aligned with the sunlight, making the geometry finally distinguishable. Ignoring this detail was a missed opportunity. Another issue involved the delayed release of the MRO image. NASA waited 45 days before sharing it, citing the government shutdown as the reason. Yet during that same period, HiRISE continued releasing Mars images without interruption except for the 3I Atlas images. Then, when NASA finally held the press conference, the public expected something substantial. What they received instead was a briefing with almost no new scientific information, no expert discussion, and no acknowledgement of uncertainties. You cannot build anticipation and then deliver nothing of substance. It damages public trust. Science should be a transparent, honest conversation with the public, not a staged performance. Consider another overlooked clue: the 1977 wow signal originated within 9 degrees of 3I Atlas's inbound path. This does not prove any connection, nor does it imply anything extraordinary. But it is a clue worth checking, and that is precisely how science should operate. Curious coincidences are opportunities to investigate. That is why I contacted radio astronomers as soon as 3I Atlas was detected. Because of that, they observed the object and set the first radio upper limit, revealing no transmissions stronger than a cell phone at 0.96 gigahertz. Yet, NASA didn't mention this at all, not even the basic idea that searching for signals is worthwhile. If your mindset is, it's just a rock, then you will never look for anything else. And that mindset blinds you to new possibilities. Even the geometry of its arrival was ignored. Interstellar objects should enter the solar system from random directions because they are not bound to the sun's gravitational plane. But 3I Atlas arrived perfectly aligned with the ecliptic, the very plane where all the planets orbit. The odds of this happening naturally are about 1 in 500. That is extremely rare. It could be an incredible coincidence, or it could point to something unusual about its origin. But NASA did not address it. Then there's the chemical anomaly. Comets typically contain iron and nickel in predictable ratios. Exploding stars produce iron and nickel in nearly identical quantities. Yet 3I Atlas showed nickel without iron, an extreme, unprecedented ratio. This is not typical in nature. It would require highly unusual formation conditions or extremely unique astrophysical processes. Alternatively, such a ratio resembles engineered nickel-based alloys used in aerospace materials. This does not mean the object is artificial, but it does mean the anomaly deserves discussion, and NASA did not mention it at all. To me, the most consequential mystery is the size of 3I Atlas. Observations suggest it is at least 5 kilometers wide, possibly larger, making it roughly 1,000 times more massive than Borisov and 1 million times more massive than Oumuamua. This is statistically shocking. If interstellar objects followed normal size distributions, we should have detected millions of small Oumuamua-type objects before finding something this gigantic. We should have seen thousands of Borisov-sized ones. Instead, the third interstellar object ever detected is the largest by orders of magnitude. That should immediately raise scientific eyebrows. Yet, NASA never mentioned it. Science should not minimize mysteries. It should highlight them. Mysteries are not threats. They are opportunities. The public understands this instinctively. They are curious, engaged, and eager to hear what we do not yet understand. NASA made two major mistakes. They downplayed genuine anomalies instead of presenting them honestly, and they held a press event that delivered almost no new scientific value. If the goal is to educate and inspire the public, this approach falls short. People want substance, not vague reassurance. Instead of debating press conferences, our priority should be gathering more data. In December, when 3I Atlas comes closest to Earth, we'll have coverage from dozens of telescopes, including Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope. This will be our best chance to answer the real questions. We should also search for released fragments. Because natural ice chunks and technological probes behave differently. We should look for thermal signatures using JWST. Any unexpected hit would be extraordinary. We should monitor for radio signals. Even silence provides scientifically meaningful constraints. And above all, we should encourage open scientific debate, not suppress it. Science is not a performance. It is a dialogue with the public and with the unknown. There is no shame in admitting we do not yet have the answers. That is the beginning of every discovery. 3I Atlas presents real puzzles. We should not downgrade them, we should embrace them. Because every anomaly is a message from nature, and if we listen carefully, we may learn something profound, not just about 3I Atlas, but about our place in the cosmos. Stay curious.